Hello, in this video we're going to look at part 5 of the Reading and Use of English paper in the Cambridge Advanced exam. Part 5 is the multiple choice reading task. What do you have to do? Well, this task tests your reading skills obviously, but it tests your ability to unwrap a question, to look at words in the text and expressions that mean exactly the same thing as you're given in the answer options. So you need to look for synonymous expressions, something in the text that means the same as what you find in the question. Cambridge recommends that you read the text very quickly first before you begin, but I don't think that you'll have time to do this unless you're a very quick reader. And I don't think it's absolutely necessary anyway, because the questions follow the same order through the text in this part of the exam. For example, question 2 will come after question 1 in the text, but before question 3. So if you can't find the answer for a particular part, try to use the other questions as a way of navigating through. And it really helps if the question says in, for example, the 3rd paragraph, something like that. It's far more important that you spend time reading the question carefully, because often some of the most important information comes at the start of the question and not in one of the 4 options. A lot of students overlook the information that's there. So don't look for particular words to appear in the text that come up in the answers. This kind of word hunting really doesn't work at Cambridge Advanced level. Actually, well, you can use it, I suppose, if you're trying to eliminate answers. If you have the 4 options and you find a word in the text that corresponds to the exact same word in, for example, option A, you can pretty much rule out option A as the potential answer. When you're going through the text, it's really important to underline the text that gives you the answer or that you think gives you the answer. Then put the number of the question next to it. There are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, from a practical perspective, if you do find that you have some time left at the end of the exam, you can then go back through the paper and you'll be able to see where you were working and you can continue from there. You can use the time profitably. But secondly, if you underline a piece of text, you'll be asking yourself, at least subconsciously, if this really is the part of the text that's giving you the right answer. You might start to question your logic, and if so, you might start to re-examine the question. So it can really be a very useful guide. Okay, so the best way to see these little tips and techniques in practice is to do a task. So if you follow the link in the description to this video, you'll find a PDF. And if you turn to page 23 in that PDF, you'll find a text called The Internet Today. So have a go and then come back and we'll look at the answers together. Okay, so where do we get the answers from? Let's go through, starting with number 31. And the answer we want here is C. So we're looking at the metaphor of a city map to illustrate the difference between potential and real internet use. So we want some synonymous expressions that show only the potential and the real use of the internet. And halfway through the first paragraph, we see the flows show how people actually travel in the city as distinct from how they could. This helps in thinking about the internet and digital technology generally. So the potential is how they could, and the real is how they actually travel. This is quite a clever question in a way from Cambridge, because in a lot of European languages, the word actual is a false friend. It certainly is in German, and I think in Polish as well, where it means more current or up to date, not real instead of potential. So it's a good test of your fine knowledge of the English language. Moving on to number 32, we're directed to line 13. What do the words "that test" refer to? And we want B, connecting in a substantial way with other cultures. So this is a great example of one way of looking at this text. When we look for synonymous expressions, one way we can do it is if we have a positive idea, we could look for the contradiction of a negative idea. So we want a substantial way, and if we look just before line 13, lines 11 and 12, it says to go beyond merely being tolerant of those who are different. Merely being tolerant means going for something more substantial. So it's like a negation of a negative, giving us a positive. This is the sort of thing we need to look for in this test. For number 3, the answer is D. The way in which it works is far from neutral, and this is the point made about the internet in the 3rd paragraph. If we look carefully, it says, we've built information tools that embody our biases towards things that affect those who are closest to us. So, if you have a bias, then it's not going to be neutral. For number 34, we're asked what the reviewer suggests about Zuckerman in the 5th paragraph. You'll notice, by the way, that paragraph 4 is quite long, and yet there are no questions about it. So if you'd read through the text before beginning, you might have a deeper understanding of the text on the whole, but you'll have wasted a minute or two looking at something that wouldn't help you much with the answers. So for number 34, we've got this suggestion about Zuckerman. The answer we want is A. His recommendations are less impressive than his analysis. So we have this powerful diagnosis of what's wrong. That's his analysis, and it's positive. But then it says where he runs out of steam somewhat is in contemplating possible solutions, and that is the less impressive recommendations. This is the second time in the text that the question has asked us for 2 things, and the order they appear in the text is the opposite. So look out for that little thing that Cambridge likes to do. And then in 35, which of the following words is used to suggest disapproval, you could probably guess just by looking at the 4 options. The answer, of course, is D, sniff. And if we go there into the text on line 40, we see, for example, what medics with a sniff call cyberchondria. So we can imagine, we can visualize what they do with that, and of course it would be negative. And then finally, for number 36, the answer we're looking for is A. When we're talking about Alex Krotowski, her insight into the nature of online friendship is perceptive. It says here, she's a rare combination of academic geek, reporter and essayist, which her chapter on the concept of friendship online exemplifies. So we talk about this idea that she has a very clear perception of things. So, take those tips on board. Think about this idea of the synonymous expressions and underlining things in the text that will give you the right answer, or at least lead you in that direction. Do a lot of practice as much as possible, and really focus on the ideas, the way that Cambridge asks you questions. The more practice you get of this task, the better. Okay, in the next video we'll be looking at part 6, which a lot of people find the most difficult part of the reading and use of English paper, but actually there are things that you can do to make it seem a lot less challenging than it really is. So until then, thank you.